The crypto market continues to chop, and this may be seen as a bad thing, but I really don't believe that it is. Obviously, yes, other markets are pumping, which everyone is really kind of putting their attention on, and that's really okay. I'm not too mad about that. The main thing that I am looking at here when it comes back to crypto is just the range in which we are trading in. It's very easy to spot the fact that we are ranging just by looking at the market cap of crypto over the last roughly 4 days. We're just going sideways, not doing too much. It's very similar going all the way back to the beginning of the month as well. This is typical price action where we have an expansion to the upside, we chop a little bit, and then we have another expansion. I do feel as if we're kind of in that range yet again. The only issue here is that a lot of altcoins are getting, sort of forgotten, if you will. XRP is one that we have been tracking, obviously, on the channel. You guys know that, I love XRP. Yes, XRP has been chopping. It looks pretty rough. It looks pretty bearish as well in the lower time frame structure, which is totally fine. The main thing that we are looking at is attention getting taken from altcoins, and more so looking at Ethereum and Bitcoin. Like, for an example, in the last week, XRP is down almost 2%. Ethereum is up almost 7%. This should be celebrated. I know that a lot of people will say oh, XRP is doing absolutely nothing. XRP sucks, X, Y, and Z, right? But the main thing here is we need to be cheerleaders for Ethereum and Bitcoin. I know that it sucks to hear that, but if we're thinking about typical market structure, yes, it's all liquidity flows. It's all capital flooding into Bitcoin initially, then going into Ethereum, and then going into altcoins. And you might be saying, well, Nick, isn't the traditional market dead? No, the traditional market structure is not dead. The 4-year cycle, though, that is dead. The reason why that is dead is because of liquidity changing. However, I still believe in the flow in this market. I do believe that we will see Bitcoin going into Ethereum and then going into altcoins. And the good thing about XRP, while everyone is screaming XRP sucks, XRP is this, XRP is that, number one, we are up well over still 300%. Guys, I'm not going to complain about XRP ranging or chopping for, weeks or even months on end, especially considering the fact that we are still up 300% on our positions, especially for those out there that have been watching the channel for a long time. Yeah, I'm not complaining at all with this. This was a very good move on XRP, and we're still around $2. Even if we lost $2 tomorrow and we chopped all the way back down to $1, $1.60, I still would not be mad about it because we are still up significantly on our XRP positions. Now, do I think that that's going to be the case? No, I don't believe that XRP is going to drop that much, but XRP will most likely range and chop until we start to see the market itself wake up in a big way, especially Bitcoin and Ethereum. But the good thing about XRP still trading at the highs that it is the fact that if we are going to see a capital rotation in this market similar to previous alt seasons, then yes, XRP is going to be trading significantly higher than where it's trading right now. Now, the big thing about Bitcoin, and I have been following Bitcoin over the last couple of weeks, as you guys are all aware, I essentially called the bottom on Bitcoin back in roughly November, all the way up until January. And, during this time, yes, a lot of you have been very negative. In fact, a lot of you guys have been, saying a whole bunch of nonsense in the comments. And I get it. I understand, right? But the thing here that we were looking at was bullish divergence on Bitcoin. We had the chop to the downside. We had lower lows. This was very bearish back here in April of 2025. Then in November, we have a significant wick. However, we closed at roughly 86.5K. Then December, middle of December, we closed around 86K. This is a lower low. However, we were tracking RSI. RSI was in an uptrend. RSI back in April was also in an uptrend. This is bullish divergence. This typically breaks out in a big way, which is why I was confident enough to say that this was the bottom on Bitcoin. And while I said, hey, a big move is coming, everyone constantly said, yeah, big move to the downside. Yes, we're going to chop to the downside. Yes, we're going into a bear market. However, Bitcoin did break out. Now we are at the first major line of, resistance. And yes, we've hit resistance prior to this move as well, back here on the 4th and also on the 7th. But if we're looking at the chart here on the 3-day, it feels eerily similar back to like the end of April, where, you know, we were at a point where RSI was flatlined on the chart while price action was hitting a wall. We have hit a wall here right at the same wicks that we had back in April. RSI sort of flattening, right? If this plays out, we should be trading within the next week, week and a half, maybe even 2. We should be trading at 106K roughly by the end of the month into roughly the first week of February, if this is going to play out very similar to this price action back here, which I do believe that we will. So I'm still expecting 100K plus on Bitcoin. Now, how does XRP play into that? Well, I have been seeing a lot of people bull posting about XRP. I mean, it's the same typical crowd about how XRP is going to rally like it did back in 2017. Listen, guys, I don't think that I need to tell you why these types of posts are out there. For anyone that isn't aware of how long I have been following XRP, we have been hearing these echoes of 2017 since 2017. Back in 2020 into 2021, everyone was posting the same exact charts. XRP to $150 because it's going to repeat 2017. Guess how they do this? They throw a bars graph on the chart. It's similar to me going over here to Bitcoin, okay? From where we are trading right now. And all I need to do is grab a part on this chart that looks absolutely insane, like this, okay? And all I gotta say is Bitcoin about to do the same thing here? And all of a sudden I'm calling for a $500,000 Bitcoin. This is exactly what they do in the XRP community as well. And listen, I'm not hating on a select few people. I'm just saying that I have been seeing the same charts for well over now, like 8 years, and almost every single time, like, look at this. This is a bars graph chart showing XRP to $100. The reason why they are posting this is because of the views, the clicks, the likes, the engagement. Do I think that XRP is mirroring 2017? Even if it was, XRP is not going to $100. I'm just going to be honest with you guys. But the good thing about XRP this time around is, like I said, it's trading significantly higher than any other time in this market. The next expansion here should be to $10 to $15. If we're going to go maximum bullish on this, it would be $10 to $15. Does that mean that XRP is never going to go higher than that? No, I'm just saying the initial target here is $10 to $15. We already hit the minimum target that I had set up for XRP. The next point would be like $5 to $7, which would be conservative. The next one would be $10 to $15. Now that would be aligned with how good the ETFs have been doing. And I know that someone said like, oh, well, we already had an outflow day. We had an outflow day because Canary seeded their XRP with too much capital and they needed to withdraw that capital. It was technically not even an outflow day, but XRP in terms of the ETFs has been doing incredibly well. We just surpassed 800 million XRP locked up in the vaults, which is equivalent to 0.8% of the total supply. Week 3 inflows, 26.66 million XRP. I mean, the weeks have been doing pretty good. I mean, obviously, like if we're looking at the weeks by the way, this is the outflow day. And you can see 21 shares was the one that had the outflows. It's because they seeded their ETF with too much capital that they needed to withdraw that capital. But when we look at the weeks here, I mean, overall, it's almost every single week we are seeing more and more inflows in a big way. Some more XRP getting locked up. This all accumulates over time, and I've been saying that it accumulates over time and leads to bullish expansion. But you've also probably been seeing a lot of charts like this, where we are starting to hear a lot of people saying like, oh, hey, alt season's coming. Listen, we have been tracking alt season. In fact, 2025 should have been alt season. But like I said, the time frame structure changed. The 4-year cycle is no longer in place. Now we are going into a longer expanded market. And the reason why is because liquidity is expanding longer. We saw liquidity wiped out in 2025, 2026, liquidity is returning. This should be the year where we do see altcoin expansion. Now, the main reason why a lot of people have been calling for alt season is because of the Russell 2000 hitting all-time highs, which is this chart here. The Russell 2000 index hit another all-time high and gave its highest weekly close ever in history. Why this is best signal for altcoins? The Russell 2000 is small cap US stocks, and small caps usually lead when money is ready to take more risk. When people are scared, they hide in large caps and cash. When risk appetite comes back, small caps are one of the first places that money goes. Now, Total 3 is sitting under its own big resistance zone. It already had a big move up into late 2024 when it corrected and has been moving sideways since late 2025. So the difference is simple. Russell has already broken above its previous all-time high and is now moving higher. Altcoins are still building below their ceiling, which is exactly what Russell 2000 did before the breakout. This is why the Russell move matters. It tells you the market is willing to stay in risk assets for more than a few days. And if risk appetite stays, the next step is usually money moving from risk on in stocks to higher risk parts of crypto. This is when altcoins will have their own breakout, which could lead to new highs. All it needs now is that Russell keeps holding above the breakout level, and alt will be the fastest horse. And here, of course, we do have the altcoin market. Here we have the bear market with Russell 2000. We also have the bear market with altcoins. We also have the 2021 high, the December 2024 high, the October 2025 high, and then we have the new all-time high. The October high back in 2025 and even the highs back in 2024, they were not breakouts for altcoins. Everyone has been screaming, altcoins already had an alt season. It's done. Wrap it up. The show's over. Guys, every single one of those moves, like even XRP's move back in 2024, which is the major high that everyone is going off of back here, but then also the high back in July, these were not like major altcoin swings for XRP. Like we were not in alt season on XRP. Those were just trades. Those were just typical and healthy XRP trades that were set up after years and years of consolidation. We are still waiting for the altcoin market to break out in a big way. The Russell 2000 is telling us that risk appetite is back. Everyone is looking at more risky options to make a lot more money. Everyone is gambling at this point. What's crazy about this is like everyone is overlooking like prediction markets and even just online casinos. They have been hitting all-time highs in terms of revenue. That's because people are looking to gamble in a big way. And I'm not trying to compare crypto to like a casino, but everyone has been gambling in crypto on meme coins, on low caps. That will happen again. And the main thing here is we look at how starved traders are for extremely risky options. Once we start to see that appetite grow more and more, we will start to see crypto expand in a much larger way. And of course, yes, we are looking at Bitcoin dominance. We're waiting for this thing to drop out. This thing has been ranging for weeks now, since going all the way back to November 3rd. I've been watching this closely. Obviously, yes, there's a few wicks back all the way into December of 2024 that we can go back to. That's where we did kind of hit this wall on this chart anyways initially. But the main thing that I'm looking at here is just Bitcoin dominance ranging, and I'm waiting for the floor to drop out below it. I've been watching for signs of weakness. So far, we have been holding around the 58.94% level, which if we're looking at this, I believe it's on the 3-month tab. Yeah, this is all support going all the way back to like July, all the way throughout like October of 2020. The second that we lose this, that's going to be the big signal that altcoins are about to wake up in a huge way, because we should start to drop significantly on Bitcoin dominance back below 50%. And of course, that's when we start to see this play out perfectly. And that's where we start to see XRP also break out in a much larger way. Right now, we are retesting my red zone that I've outlined on this chart for a while. This is right around roughly $1.96 to $2.07. If we are going to drop significantly lower here and lose this support zone, then I would be looking at a potential swing low going all the way back here to November, which would be around roughly $1.94. So, XRP still looking decent, but it is looking a lot weaker on the lower time frame structure. That's mainly because we are also breaking down against Bitcoin, while Bitcoin is starting to, run a bit harder. And of course with Ethereum, right? Like we're still focused on Ethereum. And I know that a lot of people will say like, oh, well, who cares about Bitcoin and Ethereum? Well, the market does. And the market does follow both of them in a big way, especially when Bitcoin dominance is as high as it is. I haven't been looking at Ethereum dominance, but I do know that it was right around roughly like almost 10% or so. I'll have to take a look at it later today, but regardless of that, do I think that XRP is going to have a much larger move? Do I think that altcoins are going to have a much larger move? Do I think that crypto itself is going to expand in a much larger way? 100%. Everything is telling us that we shouldn't be concerned here. While everyone is screaming lower, 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 I'm screaming here higher, 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 because there's no reason for us to, not look at this in a much more bullish way. And it kind of goes all the way back to October as well, when we first initially hit the all-time high on Bitcoin and then we sold off. This was all, a manipulated move. Even the swing high here, and then we started to see the crash in the market. Then the entire market just kind of wiped out going into November. But the main thing that we were looking at here was, number one, while Bitcoin was going higher, especially on the 3-week or on the 3-day chart, we were still in bearish divergence. I mean, we were still seeing RSI dropping significantly lower while price action was going significantly higher. So we knew that a drop was going to happen. We just didn't know when. So we were just waiting for it and waiting for it and waiting for it. And then of course we did get it in October. And that led to the cascade going all the way into November. It's the same structure view going all the way back here to like November all throughout January, where, Bitcoin still had that bearish divergence happening on the chart where, Bitcoin is going higher, Bitcoin's going higher. However, RSI was dropping. So we knew that a drop was going to happen, and it led to the same sort of setup. I mean, the setup here is almost identical on Bitcoin, which is why I'm very excited on this next wave here. I do believe that we should start to see Bitcoin dominance drop, lower. XRP should continue higher. Most of the entire altcoin market should expand rapidly as well, very similar to 2021 or even 2017, 2018. But we're not going to see the same moves like XRP did back in 2017, like we're seeing from a lot of these posts on X, which, again, a lot of this is just engagement farming. So with that being said, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video.